So we will go ahead and initiate our city council meeting. The timestamp is 6:15 p.m. on April the 21st of 2020. Just to go ahead and read some items to get them into the record. In accordance with an order of the Office of the Governor issued on March 16th, 2020, your city council for City of Duncanville will conduct city council regular meetings by video conference at 6 p.m. on Tuesday, April 20th, to advance public health goal of limiting face-to-face meetings, also called social distancing, in an effort to slow the spread of the coronavirus pandemic. This is an open meeting conducted by video conference. There is no public access to a physical location. And in terms of public comments, those had to be submitted prior to the meeting to the city secretary and had to have been received by 4 o'clock today. And according to what I see in email, well, we do have one of those at this moment. So we'll go ahead and get underway. Again, it's at 6:15. Just some housekeeping notes. The audience is in listen only mode, and the public comments were submitted by 4 o'clock, and I will read that, or one or the other, either Kristen and I will read that into the record. Now, in terms of communication,
cut off to get me a spot.
Oh, there's Johnette.
That's it.
There's Johnette. So who'd we lose?
You lost
Joe.
Joe.
We lost Joe.
Councilmember Vera Cruz volunteered to give his camera
Yeah.
away.
Okay, so Johnette, we've got you now. Okay, just some housekeeping.
Amazing.
This is our first virtual city council meeting in which most of us, well, looks like all of us are remote. And so the challenge comes in terms of all 7 of us cooperating together for communication. And to do that, what I'm asking is that if you wish to speak, give me a big hand raise like this. So it catches my eye, I can see you, and I will take notes, and Kristen is going to help me in terms of putting people in order as the comments come up and the hand gets raised. So I call you in the order that you're noticed. So, and in that particular respect, for communication purposes, when we were on audio only, when somebody wanted to speak, then they were finished speaking, we said over. And that might help as well so that we don't talk over each other. So if you wish to speak, I will call on you. Go ahead and say what you'd like to say. Then when you're done, say over. And that will be the end of your conversation. I'll be able to move on to another conversation. Okay. In terms of when we get into the city council meeting itself, any votes to be taken are going to be done by a roll call. And Kristen is going to be taking the roll call we were familiar with during our last meeting. Oh, did I mention Kristen's going to be watching the screens for me as well to help me call on you? So I'll be able to put that together. Okay, we are going into our work session. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Oh, yeah. Pledges and invocation come later. Got to stay on track. Okay, so the first item on the work session agenda is discussing agenda items, and that is Mr. Hugman. Mr. Hugman, are you there?
Yes, sir, Mayor, I am.
Okay. If you would read the consent agenda items, please.
Yes, sir. Mayor and council, on your consent agenda tonight, the first item 4A are the minutes for the March 31st, 2020 City Council special meeting and the April 7th, 2020 council regular meeting. Item 4B is a resolution approving the second renewal of a contract for street sweeping services from Sweeping Services of Texas, and this is in an estimated expenditure of $86,000. This contract is for sweeping our arterial roads and certain parking lots, as well as residential streets periodically. And this picks up the debris that is in the streets that otherwise would end up in our stormwater system. In the last year, The contractor collected approximately 750 cubic yards of debris, and that is equivalent to 60 dump trucks full of debris that otherwise would have ended up in our creeks. Item 4C is a resolution authorizing Linebarger, Gogan, Blair, and Sampson to authorize the sale of certain properties by Dallas County as foreclosure property, 439 Azalea Lane, 359 Blossom Drive, and 203 Cedar Street. These properties have outstanding taxes on them, and so this would go to the sheriff's auction if the council authorizes that, and then if they are not sold at auction, they will be struck off to Dallas County for their resale program. They will not come to the city. Those are all of the items on the consent agenda.
Okay, thank you very much. One thing we might do, yeah, I see you, Mark. One thing we might do, just another piece of housekeeping, is have your mic in the mute unless you're getting ready to speak, because that'll eliminate some background distractions. So yes, Mark, go ahead, please.
No, that's exactly what I was going to mention. That's all.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, moving on to item 2 of our work session briefing. It's discussing the annual city council calendar. And I know one of the things that we want to work on that today, as well as some other things that Kevin's going to talk about, is getting the executive search firm interviews back on track. So Kevin, if you want to go ahead and take off, please.
Thank you, Mayor. We'll mention, before I get to those, let me start off with 2 things that are probably maybe a little bit quicker that I had on the agenda memo. The Memorial Day event that we plan at Memorial Park. We have reached out to the American Legion and the Veterans of Foreign Wars. The American Legion does not plan to participate, and they have recommended canceling that event. It is our opinion that given the restrictions in place and not knowing exactly where we'll be at the end of May, that we plan to not hold that event, that Memorial Day event at Memorial Park. The second item, the 4th of July celebration, we have also been meeting as staff discussing that event. If we are going to have the full event, we have to start planning and lining up activities and venues or bands, et cetera, fairly soon. What we have been just in reaching out and talking to other cities and kind of what they're planning to do right now, most of them appear only to be planning a fireworks event. It is our recommendation that we do not try to hold a full event, that we just right now plan for fireworks only. And then again, depending on what kinds of restrictions are in place, you know, we may or may not even be able to hold that. Hopefully we will, but then if we just have the fireworks, we don't have to get fencing, we don't have to get a lot of extra security, and we are having trouble getting extra security right now because the event is on a Saturday as well. So getting outside assistance is proving to be difficult as well. But we just don't believe that even by July that we will be able to have that kind of an event with a lot of people inside that area. So this time, our recommendation is just to plan for the fireworks only show. But I would like to hear if you all have any other thoughts on that.
Kevin, what would be the drop dead date for us to decide to go ahead, if, well, depending on what's going on with the city and everything else, if we could set a drop dead, like a fail safe date for go or no go? Do you have any ideas on that?
Are you asking about a go no go for the full event or just for the fireworks? Because that does vary. That would be dependent.
I would say the full event.
The full event, we pretty much need to know probably here by the end of this month if we're going to go with that, to be able to line up extra security, line up bands, food vendors, and so forth. And again, too, we don't even know if some of them will agree to participate or not. To go with just the fireworks show, that drop dead date then would be much closer to the event itself. I can't tell you though how much in advance, but I would say probably 30 days before then. So you're talking about the beginning of June that we could make that decision if we needed to cancel the fireworks.
Okay, I guess it would behoove us to notify our fireworks contractor that this is what we've decided tonight, so that they at least keep us on the calendar until the first week of June. Can they do that? Do you think that'd be possible?
Yes, sir. We've been in conversation with them. We are on their calendar right now.
Okay, all right. Everybody good with that? Yeah, Mark?
Yeah, I am good with it. I do think it is pretty soon to kind of cancel the entire event. And I understand what Kevin just mentioned about the security. But Kevin, have we already secured I think the band or something already been secured, and not that we can't cancel, but I think we also, if we choose not to go forward, could we not get creative and stream this in, where our citizens can look at it from a stream standpoint, and not just have nothing at all?
Yes, sir. I believe we could do that. The streaming event, I think we could do that.
So I think then we'd have some form of entertainment there, and we wouldn't have everybody there live, but they can at least see if we still had bands or whatever else going on, and then kind of keep it something going. Because we know the last time we had to cancel the fireworks event, our city looking forward to that, and with all of the things that's been going on around the country, that would be some event for us to at least help people celebrate. Thank you.
Okay.
That ends my comments.
So we will move forward with, at this point, planning for the fireworks and in live streaming that, and if there is a band that we could get. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes, but I think according to Bart, you have a band already secured.
I don't know. I have to confirm with him on that. That
Okay.
may be.
If you would, but it's the same reason I know that it's the same band that the TML had at their event, and so that's why I knew that up front.
Okay.
But that ends my comments.
Mark, as an add-on to what you're saying, there's a lot of discussion throughout the country on, are people's behaviors going to change as a result of becoming a new habit? The psychologists say if you change your behavior, it only takes 3 times to make a permanent change in someone's behavior. And here we are going virtual. So many things are going virtual. Having a virtual July 4th celebration is not beyond the realms of acceptability. I wouldn't even say possibility, because it's always possible technology-wise, but acceptability. If we have the fireworks and we live stream the band and things, people are probably going to be pretty well used to that by the time we get to that date. Okay, good, Kevin. Moving on, please.
Okay. All right. So the next items in Mayor and Council, as the Mayor mentioned earlier, is to reschedule your interviews with the 3 executive search firms. On your calendars, we have proposed 3 dates. If you recall, previously you had discussed interviewing 2 of them on one evening and then interviewing the 3rd one on the 2nd evening. So we have looked at Monday and Tuesday, April 27th and 28th, or Monday and Tuesday, May 11th and 12th, or Tuesday and Wednesday, May 26th and 27th. The reason for the 26th, the Tuesday, Wednesday, is because that Monday is Memorial Day. We have confirmed with all 3 search firms that they are available any of those dates and have it on they have it penciled in now, so we just need to confirm with them whatever you select.
I have a comment. Yeah, I see you, Don. Um, I think when we talked about doing 2 in 1 night, face to face is a whole lot different than trying to pull something like this off virtually. And my gut reaction is that we probably need to do just 1 a night, because it's a whole new environment for us. We're going to be doing it like this, calling on people, looking at them. They're going to be remote. So there's going to be 3 or 4 people on their end remote. We're going to be remote. And I'm thinking it probably, what do y'all think? I kind of think it'd be best to just do 1 a night rather than trying to squeeze 2 into 1 night. Don, you had your hand up.
Yes, Mayor, thank you. First, I wanted to go with the earliest available dates, in April. So if we decide to go with the Wednesday, I have no problem with going with the Wednesday as well. Oh,
Councilmember Cooks has a question or a comment.
Yes, Mark.
Yeah, thank you. I'm like Don. I think April 27th, 28th is good for me as well. May 26th and 27th, that's possible no for me. But to your comment, Mayor, about doing 1 a night, I still think either way, we probably could get 2 completed, either in this environment or in another environment, face to face or virtual. I think we can still get 2 done and 2 done a night and save 1. That ends my comments.
Okay. Anybody else?
Those dates work for me, 27th, 28th.
The best.
Johnette, you're breaking up pretty badly. Say again, please. I think we've lost broadband Wi-Fi on Johnette. Are you there, Johnette?
Yeah.
Okay. Say
Yeah.
say again,
Mhm.
please. Say again.
I said your faces are blurry and the audio popping in and out. So this is not really conducive to holding an interview.
Just on a sidebar, everybody on my screen is very, very sharp, and it may be your broadband and your connection or your device. I'm not sure, but I've got very, very sharp pictures on everybody else and very clear audio.
Yeah, everybody online except Johnette is clear.
Yeah,
Voice.
your picture, Johnette, is almost imperceptible to see your face. So I think it's part of your connection. And Tracy might be able to help you with that in the interim to get that better worked out.
Mayor Gordon, this is Kristen. Joe Veracruz has a comment.
Okay, thank you, Kristen. Joe, go ahead.
Yes, sir. Those dates are good for me, the 27th, 28th. That's it.
Okay. I'm good with 27 and 28. Monty, you said you're good 27, 28. And Mark is good. Don, you said ASAP, so you're good. Patrick?
Yes, sir. I'm good with both dates. Over.
27, 28. Okay. Kevin, go ahead. We'll do 27 and 28 and see what 2 we can do on the, yeah, Mark?
You're gonna go ahead and do the two and the 1?
Y'all are feeling it's okay. It's fine with me. Yeah, I just had a comment, but if the general acceptance is go ahead and try for 2 for that 1 night, that's okay.
Okay, over.
I don't have a problem. So, Kevin, if you can work out which 2 are workable. Now, how much time were we planning for each interview? That I don't remember.
Mayor, I think what we talked about was at least an hour with each one that you probably would want, and then a little bit of time in between for any discussion. And then the second night, you would have more time for discussion on all of them. But how much time do you want for them?
Well, looking at this format, it seems like it's going to take a little more time, more than just an hour. What do y'all think? Don?
All right, sorry, Mayor. Yeah, I was thinking it was kind of along that same line, hour and a half for each one.
I'm seeing nods, so go for an hour and a half, Kevin, and like what, a half hour in between on the first night.
Okay. Then if we start the first interview, if we start the meeting at 5:30 to make sure that we get everybody lined up on the video conferencing, but have the first interview start at 6 o'clock and then have the second interview at 8 o'clock, is that okay?
Yep, looks
Okay.
good.
All right. Then we will.
So plan on the 28th to be spending some extra time with each other, because that's when we'll be talking about all three of them together. Now, will we actually take the vote that night, or are we coming back? How is that? What's the process for that?
Mayor and council.
We decide. Mayor,
Yeah, go ahead, Janet. Go ahead.
do you want?
Not hearing you, Janet. Okay.
Is your telephone communication the same or better?
Not. Go ahead and try and say something, Janet. Your picture is. I don't know if it, there. Okay.
Councilmember Jameson, I would suggest calling the telephone number and turning off your mic. And then we can hear you perfectly if you call with your phone.
So Kristen, you're saying to her, mute herself on the webinar, but call in on the telephone. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I can hear you.
There you go. Go ahead and test speak, Janet. I think we've got you clear on voice now.
I can hear you, Barry. I don't know about the others, but I can hear you.
Okay. Everybody else is going to be okay. Okay. All right. Great. Okay. We've got you. All right. Perfect. Okay. So you're going to make a comment that we couldn't hear. Go ahead, please.
Are you talking about me?
Yes.
That's what I was talking about, was that to me, this is not a very acceptable form of interviewing anyone using this platform. It was better when we could come in and be there.
Yes, Mark.
So I think, Jeanette, to your point, then, if someone will be willing, and I would be willing to do it this style, and then others can be face to face, we can still accomplish both.
Yeah, I'm saying if we had the option to come in, because I have been on other conferences and it's spotty at best. Voices coming in and out and not being able to clearly see people.
Mm-hmm. Well, the option to meet is always open, as long as we continue to abide by the social distancing rules and no more than 10 people at the same time. So that would still be an option for you, Johnette, if you prefer to come in. I would not. I would still be remote because I'm in the that at-risk group. So I would work it in terms of controlling, we'd still be okay. But if anybody else wanted to be in person, I think that would be okay. Everybody, all right?
And what about the people we're interviewing?
That would be their call. They may choose because of their particular circumstances to be all virtual. But in terms of being spotty, I think there's some issue with your particular broadband. If every time you do have a conference call or something or a webinar that you're having issues, it sounds like there may be something with your particular carrier or your Wi-Fi issue.
Well, if it can only carry 6 people, there's your first issue, and that's not me.
No, that's a glitch. In terms of 6 cameras, it's 6 cameras is a glitch. Chase is going to take care of that. We should not have that. There should be numerous numbers. Correct. There shouldn't be any problem with the number of cameras once that gets resolved. Yes, Patrick.
Mayor, even if they were not able to come in person, then if Johnny came in the city hall and Tracy would be there and some of the other people would be there, then you could put it up on a bigger screen and you'd be able to get a pretty good image, I think, up there on a bigger screen. And so I think it could work out. You know, if she came in or whoever wanted to come in, the staff could be there to kind of help things along.
And at the same time, using the connections in City Hall would probably be okay, would be my guess.
I think so.
Okay. Yeah, so Johnette.
I don't know. Was that the issue with the Economic Development Board's meeting when there were only 5 people and the 2 women on the board were not visible?
Does anybody have any knowledge of that? Anybody on staff know what Johnette's speaking about? I wasn't in on that.
Mayor and Council, this is City Manager. There were some problems with some people getting on, and I think it was because they were having problems with their web cameras. But from when we were here trying to help people get on, both Paul and myself, and I think everyone was able to get on, and from my understanding, then the rest of the meeting went okay. But as you mentioned earlier, and Tracy mentioned with the GoToWebinar, we should have more than 6 cameras with the subscription, and he's going to find out why we did not. But that should be able to be resolved.
Okay, no, the 2 women on the Economic Development Board were not visible ever in the meeting. And there were 5 cameras up, period.
Yes,
so I
ma'am.
don't know if
This is Jessica, if it's okay if I speak.
Yes, go ahead.
Yes, one of the members chose not to put her camera on, and the other member was actually driving and was on a trip and chose not to put her camera on as well. She did not have that type of access.
Okay. So
Yeah,
Kevin,
I've been doing these with 20 and 30 people on them, and they're very clear and stuff. So, I mean, I figure out how we can help on that, but I mean, I can hear every word y'all say very clear. I can see y'all very clear, and I do it. I've been doing this all day long, like every day. So this is.
I was on one. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Monty.
There's something wrong with Johnette's hookup or something. Maybe we can figure it out. But
yeah. I was on one last week with 58, and all 58 cameras were visible in the scroll at the top of the screen, and it was WebEx. It was the same thing. So,
well, I told you that my daughter's medical school, they have 250 on it, and they have no problem every day doing it. So I don't know and she does it from the same internet, the same everything. So from here. I'm at the lake, and she's at the lake. So I don't know what the problem is, but she doesn't have an issue, and that's going to San Antonio.
Well, maybe
So I don't know.
maybe through some conversations, Tracy can take some kind of remote examination at your Wi-Fi and see what, maybe it's your device. Maybe are you on iPad? Are you using the iPad?
Yeah, no. And Barry, did you understand what I said? She does it every day
I heard you.
with the medical, and it's the same. It's the same internet, the same everything.
What device are you using?
I'm using a laptop.
Okay. Well, could be your microphone, could be your camera, could be the connection in your laptop.
She does it every day with the same equipment, the same internet, the same everything.
Is it yours? Is it your laptop or her laptop that she's using?
No, I'm using, she just leaves it hooked up. So I don't know what the problem is, but
I don't either.
it can't be just this, because she doesn't have an issue. So
Well, it appears from what we're seeing, we've got 25 people online right now. And the only issue in terms of broadband connection is at your end. So we'll see if we can help you get that worked out. Somebody had a hand raised. I didn't catch.
That was Mark. I was just gonna say, we can, as we mentioned before, still have people in the at City Hall as well as the video. So
Right.
won't be able to resolve what we're looking at tonight.
Okay. Okay, so we're set for 2 on the 27th and 1 on the 28th. And going back to my question is it that point that night that we take the vote and select the executive search, or do we have another meeting, a special meeting to further discuss? Because we may be there for quite a while that night trying to make a decision. What do y'all think?
Good. Yes.
Okay, Joe says that night. Is that what I'm reading, Joe? Okay. Mark says that night. Patrick says that night. Monty says that night. Don, that night. Johnette?
fine with me.
Okay, good enough. All right, so once we conclude the interviews on the evening of the 28th, we will discuss as long as necessary and make our decision. Is that good with, so you're set with that, Kevin?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I heard what you said. And I did you agree that for an interview at 6 o'clock and an interview at 8 o'clock?
That is correct.
Okay, on the first evening.
Yes, that is correct.
Yes, sir. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
The
Go
next
ahead.
item.
Mhm.
I'm sorry.
No, yes.
The next item on the calendar that we were wanting to ask you about was getting back on track with the Planning and Zoning Commission for joint meetings on for the zoning ordinance update workshop. And what we were looking at was Monday, June 29th and Monday, July 20th. Hoping that by then we would be able to have face-to-face meetings. That thought that might work better for that discussion. So looking for your input.
June 29th, you said, was one?
Yes, sir. Monday, June 29th.
Give everybody a minute to get to their calendars.
June 29th is good with me. Monty.
Good with Monty? I'm good with the 29th.
I'm good with the 29th.
Joe, Patrick, Mark, Don, all good with the 29th. Johnette?
I guess that's the Monday before the 4th of July weekend.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
and the other date was June. What was the date?
July 20th.
July 20th. Well, it's what, the second of 3 meetings? Is that correct?
Mayor and Council, I think we were trying to look at the fourth Monday when P&Z would normally meet, and I was just noticing that that's actually a fifth Monday. I was trying to confirm with Public Works Director Greg Ramey, but it might actually be the June 22nd Monday is when P&Z meets, if that would.
This is Kristen, City Secretary. It's because we have the board and commission interviews. Let me get the calendar. Yeah, board and commission interviews would be the 27th and 28th. So it should be July 20th for the P&Z joint meeting.
Right.
All right, everybody switch to July 20. I'm good with July 20. Joe?
Mayor, this is
Mark?
Don. I'm good with July 20th. Also, I'll be good with either June 22nd or 29th as City Manager Hug was saying, depending upon that being a fourth Monday.
Kevin, is the 22nd of June scheduled? That is one of their normally scheduled meetings, is that correct?
I believe it is, Mayor.
I'd rather go earlier than later if we could. What do y'all think?
On P&Z?
Yeah. On the 22nd of June rather than the 20th of July. I mean, it's a further month away.
No, you haven't.
Well,
That's 2 different meetings. July 20th,
yeah.
June 22nd is another meeting. You have 2 different meetings.
Yes, sir, that's correct. We were looking at 2 additional workshops.
I'm sorry. I misunderstood. So we're talking 22 June and 20 July?
Right.
Okay. Thanks, Mark.
For those both, Tony, for those both P&Z planning and zoning workshops, both days.
All right. Those 2 dates good then? Give you all a minute. Joe's good. Monty's good. Mark's good. Patrick's good. Don's good. I'm good. Johnette, you good with 22 June and 20 July?
I guess so.
Okay.
I mean,
Good
it's kind of
to
far out, so.
Yeah. Okay. What else you got, Kevin?
Mayor, that was all I had for the calendar. I think Councilman.
Oh, sorry.
Okay. First was Don.
And the city secretary did mention having the board and commission at the end of July on the 27th, 28th. I'm good with those. Over.
That was June, not July. Right, Kristen?
July, Mayor, is the board and commission interviews.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, okay, Don, right. July 27 and 28, board and commission interviews.
Okay.
Yeah, Mark?
Also on the bike ride, we, of course, it's normal, that is rescheduled. There's not a date set right now. We're gonna wait till school starts back up and then we'll get back with you on the date.
Very good. Good idea. Very wise. Okay.
Mayor,
Yeah, Monty?
I'm requesting to see if you guys would go along with this, because I would like to have a joint meeting with the economic development to discuss the vision, what the council's vision is for the railroad flats. And I think the timing is right for that project for something to happen with that. And I would really like to all be on the same page on that project.
Okay, I think in order to schedule that, probably the best thing to do is advise EDC, through Jessica to the EDC that to have them do some work on it and let us know when they're ready to go into some detail to discuss those plans.
No, I would like to have a brainstorming session before they do work about what might be best. I don't want, I mean, I'd like to have a brainstorming session with them so we can all have input about what goes on there.
The EDC doesn't own railroad flats.
Yeah, they do.
They do?
Yes.
And so is there money being paid on it?
I don't know what's being paid. I'm just requesting a joint meeting with the EDC that we have a brainstorming session together to get a good
Right. I'm
vision.
just trying to understand what the input would be, because we have EDC, we have the council, we have these different boards, and, you know, different things are being told to different groups, and then they're mixed together, and some of them, I'm not even sure why. So
That's why I would request, that's why I'm requesting a joint meeting so we can get our heads together and come up with a.
but the EDC owns railroad flats.
Yeah, yes. I believe so.
I don't
Jessica,
think so.
Jessica, can you validate, please, ownership of railroad flats?
Mayor, this is Jessica. Yes, sir, that is correct.
The EDC owns railroad flats.
Yes, ma'am.
Hello?
She just
Yes,
answered.
ma'am.
And so it's owned flat out. Oh, that's right, because we purchased houses from people. I remember now.
Any ideas on some dates? I don't have the full calendar, so we're gonna have to depend on Kristen and to take a look at all the paperwork and see where something's open.
So maybe we could do it with so the EDC doesn't have to have another meeting. Maybe we could do it on a night when they have a meeting. We could come on while we have Zoom going about before their meeting or something like that. I'll have to create another meeting.
One aspect of doing brainstorming by this particular platform, I don't think is gonna be that efficient, to be honest with us, Monty.
Well,
You
one
know,
of the
I think-
problems I think we have is I don't know if that's appropriate to go into this. I mean, I was just told I could make that request right now, but one of the problems we have is we don't have a good vision together about what we want. And before somebody just goes off and starts trying to bring us something, why don't we put our heads together and get ideas from our council and them? And I think we don't do enough of that. You know, we do our planning once a year and then we expect our boards to bring us something. And then, you know, so this would be something that we could work with them on, not.
Okay. It's not appropriate to go into the discussions on the aspects of necessity. It is appropriate for you to ask for a joint meeting to discuss railroad flats, and we can certainly work to do that. I do have a question for city attorney, though. This is property, and while it is brainstorming, that the discussion on property comes under executive session.
Yes.
Well, we own it, though. We're not buying it.
Doesn't make any difference. It's real
Well,
property.
yeah, it does. It's if you're purchasing something.
Well, city attorney, would you please give me some input, please?
Okay, so what all is going to be discussed regarding the property?
You heard it, brainstorming. We don't know what's going to be discussed in terms of the strategic vision for the future of railroad flats, a particular plot of land owned by DDC.
Well, my recommendation is that would be discussed in an executive session.
And the reason for that is?
Because of the vague nature of what's being discussed regarding that property. You know,
Well,
I don't
think
want,
that was not one of the reasons why you could go into executive session, because it was a vague issue.
I would have to say that discussing the strategic vision for property owned by the EDC, if it's in an open meeting format, then developers and other individuals could understand what the city is thinking of doing with that property. And it's inappropriate for outside people to have privy to that information. So even though we're calling it brainstorming and setting strategic vision, it ought to be an executive session.
I think we need to get a ruling on that, because I think that that's stretching executive session.
We just did get a ruling on it.
I
Personally, I think,
understand, but I think that we talked about that before, if you'll recall, with Bob.
Monty?
personally, I think it would be healthy for a community to hear their discussion, to hear what we think. We're not talking about doing it. We're not talking about a developer. We're not talking about a deal. We're just talking about, it would be the same as talking about the comprehensive plan. It's like, here's a piece of property, and here's something I think. What do you think? What does Jessica think? What does the EDC members think? And we share our information, and we kind of find, maybe craft a vision for what we may want over there. Instead of just, just guessing at what somebody might bring us. I mean, I would rather cast a vision by what we want with some ideas. I think we have some smart people on this with you guys and on the EDC. I think that we could cast a vision and attract a developer and give Jessica and give them some more instructions about what to do, what the ideas are, how you would finance it, how you would buy it. I mean, what kind of product do we want on it? What kind of product will work? Do you want it 1 story, 2 story, 3? Do you want a high rise? Do you want a hotel? Do you want some apartments? Do you want, tiny homes? Do you want, there's lots of things that we could brainstorm about.
Well, you know what? Thinking about it, Mayor, you may have a point about executive session, because I can see that there might be an issue.
I really believe
Mayor
it ought to
Gordon?
be an executive. Yes, go ahead. Who is this?
Shelby Piercy.
Shelby, yes, city attorney. Go ahead, Shelby.
Now, and the reason that I said because of the vague nature or the broad nature of what might be discussed, because it could fall under discussions about the value of property or discussions regarding certain economic development matters, those would fall into executive session. If you start talking about all of this in an open session and then we get off on talking on other matters having to do with economic development or the value of property, which do fall under the executive sessions, then you have to break and go into executive session. I think that it would make more sense for this to be taken up in executive session in its entirety.
Okay, whichever way.
Monty, in terms of us being very efficient in getting the accomplishment done that we would like, I think executive session is more appropriate than open session.
That's good. Let's do it. Okay. I'm with you.
So Mr. Hugman, would you work some dates and get back to us, please?
Yes, sir, Mayor. We will come back to you. Are you looking at May or June?
We need to have some things later. We can't have all these dates, and because we've already got.
Yeah, I agree with Johnette, because once we decide on an executive search firm the end of April, we're going to be tied up pretty well with them, because they're going to want to talk to each of us individually. There's going to be a lot of individual work going on with that executive search team. So I think that it's a good idea, Monty. I think we need to put it back into to June or July sometime in order to do that, though.
Let's just put it on a date. That's fine. You decide.
Okay. So Kevin, if you go ahead and work some dates and get back to us, we can always set that date at another time.
Yes, sir, we will do that.
Working with EDC as well. Okay, very good. Okay. Anything else on the calendar? Negatory. Okay, very good. Thank you. Moving on to item 2B, discuss the creation of a small business and economic recovery advisory committee. I asked Kevin to put this on, and it goes back into comments that Mark made, like 3 meetings ago, I guess, when Eric Johnson, mayor of Dallas, formulated his, and I read over what he did, and I wasn't in total agreement with how and what and where and why. But in terms of the necessity for us having something like this in our city, I think it's a good idea. That in terms of a charge to them, we need to be, here's my perspective on it, was that we have a local place for people to go rather than having to think that they've got to call the county or they got to call a federal agency or they got to call the SBA or they got to call somebody, that they can pick up the telephone and call some local people to just get some guidance, not necessarily financial guidance because we have to be careful about legal liability and so forth, but just some local business people that somebody could feel comfortable in calling, like the entrepreneurs that we have the spas, we have the nail salons and so forth, and the local entrepreneurs, just somebody local that they would feel more comfortable talking with. And so the basis for the advisory committee, and by the way, I purposely avoided using the term task force. I think that's too formal a term. But the term advisory committee that they're using in Fort Worth, I think is more appropriate. That's why I selected that particular term. And what I provided you was the minutes from the last, a meeting of April 10th of the Fort Worth advisory committees. And the purpose in doing that was not to lay out a template or anything, just to give you an idea of what they're doing. And I did have an opportunity to discuss with Mayor Betsy Price how she did this and why she did it and so on. And she was very accommodating. We had a good conversation. And my 2 concerns were, number one, how were they formulated? Was it by resolution? Was it by proclamation? How did this all come about? And her answer to that question was, nope, she just thought something needed to be done. So council decided, yeah, let's do it. And there it was. And the second thing was, how are these particular sessions, what's the applicability of the Open Meetings Act? And she purposely designed the leadership to be co-chaired by 2 council members so that the Open Meetings Act would not apply. So that really opens it up to be more informal, that anybody could attend that wanted to, how the group gets together and the things that they discuss are very appropriate for local issues. And we're putting it together. So that's what the 2 major things I wanted to talk to Mayor Price about. And I said, we can move ahead with that as well in terms of calling it an initiative on the part of the council to do something that we want to do for our city. The membership, they have, as it's indicated there, they have 2 council members as co-chairs. Now, they've got 9 people on their council. So she wanted to try and get people involved. I don't know that it's necessary for us to have 2 co-chairs, but it does help to kind of spread the work around in terms of helping. And they have 22 to 25 local business people on this advisory committee. Now, we certainly are not going to go with that. She said, in fact, she thought it was too many. She preferred that it was like 10 or 12 in order to have some meaningful control and input to the co-chairs. So what I just wanted to do was put this on the table for y'all and to see how it flies, if you want to go ahead and try and put something together. And think about if you'd like to kind of think co-chairs probably wouldn't be a bad idea for us. If we have 2 of y'all that want to do this, and then think about the membership of the committee of some local business people, and not necessarily setting a number, but keeping it fairly compact and those individuals that we know that are involved in our city and would like to contribute to the overall citizenry of entrepreneurs that would like to get some guidance from us in terms of that. So I'll just kind of put it on the table, open it up to discussion, see what y'all think.
I want to do
Well,
it.
I think it's a good idea. I do think though that you need to have a conversation with the Economic Development Board on what they've come up with.
Okay, well, certainly members of the EDC could be involved as well.
Mayor, City Manager Hugman, I think what Councilmember Jameson is referring to is the EDC did meet last week, and they have come up with a plan, and I was going to have Jessica brief you all on that. So whenever you wish to have that, she's available to brief you on what their discussion was.
Okay, let's hold off on that for a minute because I saw Mark, you had a hand up.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. All right, thank you, Mayor. I appreciate it. Hey, so let me go back. When I first thought about this, it was really before I read Mayor Eric Johnson's letter. And then after I read it, it brought those two things together to make me start thinking about it more. I only use it as an example for to move forward. But then thank you for sending Mayor Betsy's prices as well, because it had a little more structure on how it should work. And I think going forward, we always should look at how do we take anybody's plan, regardless, and craft it to make it our own. And I think that's going to be the most important part. We don't take exactly what they have, but we take it and craft it to make it our own. So I think that's important. So for instance, when you talk about the small business, my first thought would be, yes, you include like members from EDC, maybe two board members from EDC as well. You chamber, and you include, of course, you start staff members as well, staff or council, and then we move from there to make sure it's not just chamber members, but it encompasses the whole city when it comes to small, when it comes to larger, and then capture it all together. So I really do like the last one you just sent out, and I'll be excited if we kind of got something. And it's not all about a picture, which I do love what EDC will talk about later. It's also just about us talking together with them and know that we care and that we're all working together as a whole. What I didn't want us to see is EDC is doing one thing, the council's trying to do another, chamber's trying to do something else, but we work this thing together and they see us as one when you talk about working with our businesses.
Okay.
Into my comment.
Great. And just before we get to Jessica, yeah, Mark, this is not a template for how we do things, definitely. It's just an example of how things are being done. So yeah, we craft our own in terms of how we feel and what we want to do for our city. So don't.
Yeah, that is
Yeah.
a good, I like the point, the bullet point.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Anybody else have comments before we go to Jessica? No. Okay, Jessica, fill us in, please.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. The Duncanville EDC Corporation on April 16th at the regular meeting, they approved a temporary COVID-19 business retention assistance program, and that's what they've titled that program. They voted, and obviously this is a program that will be coming to City Council for final consideration and approval at your next council meeting. The board has voted to allocate $250,000 for reimbursement grants. In terms of just some high-level overview in terms of what the program would include, the applicant must have been in business 120 days prior to March 13th when you signed the shelter-in-place declaration. The grants would be aimed at those businesses with 20 or less employees, because this is primarily that the board is focusing on the small businesses. And that would be available for all types of businesses as long as they are legally operating within the city of Duncanville. The grant funds would have to be used for operating costs. That could be everything from rent to employee salaries to utilities to maybe inventory necessary. The businesses would have to currently be in business as well. And then what the board would do is there would be a 3-week application period that the board would accept applications, and the applicants would fill out a very simple form that would not take an accountant to fill out. That's very important. And so one of the considerations would be the board would review these applications and make that determination in terms of those applicants that would receive funds, and they would also evaluate the ROI on those grants. Once they put that recommendation together, that would be brought back to City Council for final review and approval.
Okay, one question. You said they have to be in business. What if the financial impact of COVID-19 has already closed their doors? Are they ineligible, or do they have to be continuing at the time of the application?
If they plan to reopen and will be opening again, the board said that they would be available to apply. If they've closed and they are not reopening, then the board said that they would not be eligible. They want to try to assist those businesses that are going to be coming back, and those current ones that are and the applicants that are currently operating.
Sounds like the parameters are built pretty well around the PPP. Is there any expiration of the use of those funds as the PPP requires? Like, you've got to use them within 8 weeks, or you got to pay them back?
There was not. Obviously, they want those to be used within 6 months to a year. However, one of the things in terms of even though the application period is for 3 weeks, if there's funds left over, obviously they want to try to help as many small businesses as possible. So if there's funds left over, they will continue to accept applications after that. They just want the first round to be covered in that 3-week time period. The purpose is to try to get those funds approved and out to the businesses that are in need as soon as possible.
And where does this money come from? It's not in the budget, so where is it going to come from?
Right. This is they approved a budget amendment. This would come from the fund balance that the DCEDC already currently has.
How does it impact? I got to be careful. There are discussions in executive session that we have had, and we know that they have had, in terms of opportunity. So how would the allocation of $250,000 affect this possibility of a future opportunity?
That would not impact that option at all. This is funds that the board would have available for potential assistance or recruitment efforts in the future. And so that would not impact that opportunity at all. There would still be, obviously this is a large amount of money. The board would, this would reduce the overall fund balance, obviously, but it would not impact any current negotiations that are taking place.
So would the formation of our advisory committee be involved in the review of those applications?
Barry, that's up to the council. We have to vote on anything the EDC does.
I know, I'm just curious.
So
but, you know,
well, if we wanted that to be a prerequisite, we could state that.
Well, Jessica did say it's going to come to council for final approval. I'm just wondering in terms
Right.
of
But that's
review
true on
process.
anything.
Yeah, but I'm saying in terms of the review process to somebody comes in and applies, would our advisory council members take a look at that and give input as well? Yeah, Monty?
Yeah, when people are needing this money right now, especially the ones that didn't get it in this first round of PPP, they need it like now. I mean, they don't need it in 3 weeks, 4 weeks. I mean, I'm all for it. I appreciate them doing that, the EDC coming, bringing that to us, because I think it's really important. I think it's exactly what that money was supposed to be used for. But I think when somebody comes in and needs that money, they need it now. You wait a month, they could be out that right now. I'm telling you, there's a lot. I do this every day. I'm doing this every day. I have 300 and something tenants. Every day I'm doing this and sending people to the right places to get their PPP. A lot of the people don't know which banks to go to right now. If you go to a Wells or Chase, you're going to be like, if you're not already a customer with them, you're going to be way back in line. So there's certain banks around here that can do it really fast. So there's some other things that we can do to help them. But the ones that couldn't get that, they've already survived 3 weeks, another 3 weeks, and they could be out of business. So whatever we can do to legally speed that up and make that happen for the process, I would be in favor of.
What my point was to you, Mayor, was that it does come before the council, anything the EDC board does. So if that's something that you wanted to have, you wanted that this board integrated with that process, we could state that and have that done.
Well, let me back up just a piece. Can we just approve the EDC program without the council being involved in the approval of each individual grant?
Let them do it.
Well, sure.
Okay, all right.
Or we can do it the other way too. We can say that the committee that we're forming is involved with the grant process.
That's what I was saying, just as a suggestion, that some local entrepreneurs could be involved and help out these people as well. But then going to Monty's point in terms of expediency, we haven't formed our committee yet, but if we give approval to the EDC to go ahead and do what they want to do, then the timeline.
Well, it hadn't come on. It's not on the agenda. It hadn't come before us.
I know. So I'm just processing timelines here in terms of screening. So Jessica, I guess
council meetings May.
Right.
Mayor, can I make a comment?
Yes, please.
Mayor, City Manager Hugman. So as Jessica said, what we would do is put together the policy and bring that to the council on the next meeting agenda. And at that point, you can, look at it and make changes if you wish. But the idea is to try to get this implemented as soon as we can, recognizing Councilmember Anderson's comments as well. I know the EDC is sensitive to that. We also have to remember that these are public funds, and so we need to have something in place that is very transparent and that we are protecting the taxpayers' interest, the public interest, if you will, the public interest on the use of those funds. So we do need to have something in place approved by the council and the EDC going forward. So, but we do plan to bring that policy to you on your next meeting.
Yeah, Mark?
I want to commend the EDC even for coming up with this on the city behalf, but that's great. As someone just mentioned, it's going to be very difficult for them to bring a program in place for all of us to agree on without going through it, saying we like this or we like that. Man, I really wish before we got to council that those worked out got here. And then therefore, when it's ready to be approved, there's some discussion, but we're not really trying to rewrite the whole program. So that's number one. My point number two would be, because for instance, I can already think about when you're talking about giving funds to those businesses, how's it going to help them, number one? But then number two, how will it also help them in the city of Duncanville, whether they're going to be marketing more in the city of Duncanville to bring businesses to them? Because though we're helping the business, we're also helping taxpayers by asking them to come and serve and do sales tax purchase from those businesses to survive longer than that small amount of money it's going to do. 250 is a great amount, but when you think about, if I thought about 100 people applying, that's what, $1,000, that's about $1,000, which is nothing. But we know it'll be limited to that a little bit more. So I'm just hoping, as I said before, is that before EDC present that to us, that we have some kind of workout. We're able to give them some advice where it won't be an issue where we're discussing this for the whole period of time, and they've already spent their 3 hours working with it. Now we're trying to work with another 3 hours. I just want to see if we can get together with that, because it's such a great idea. And to Monty's point, the small business needs it now versus later, and that's why I think it's so important that somehow or the other that we all get on the same page and move forward.
I apologize, Mayor. This is Jessica again. I apologize that to your point, Mr. Cooks. I did not mention this earlier, but the amount of the grants that the board had approved ranged from $1,000 to $5,000, so from $1,000 to $5,000. And I apologize that I did not. I left that off earlier. I apologize.
And the total, that you said the total amount that one business could get is 5,000?
Yes, sir. That's what the board approved. Yes, sir.
And help me out with that amount. What did they come up with that total maximum amount? Because if I'm looking at, of course, we're not going to talk about any large corporations that's getting there. We're talking about small business. What did they help me with the thought pattern on 5,000 for a small business? Where it may help me as a mom and pop shop with 2 people, it may not help me with a smaller restaurant or something that I need more from. So can you share their thought pattern with that one?
Yes, Mr. Cooks. That's where, as I spoke about earlier, that it had to be 20 or less employees for the businesses. As a number of them are either business owners or involved with that, they felt like that obviously if they were looking at larger businesses, that $5,000 would not necessarily, or maybe wouldn't be adequate, but they felt like since they were focusing on such small businesses, that would be adequate. In addition, because of the limited funds available, they were trying to help as many businesses as possible in the community.
And I'm sure they'll appreciate any amount, but it's just another thought. But go ahead. I end.
Well, I agree with Mark. $1,000 is nothing, really. I think I know that the idea is to be conservative and transparent and what we do with our money for our taxpayers. But if you really want to help a business, I'd say put the floor at 5,000 and say, come in, here's the number. We're going to, based on what you see, you got 5,000, and maybe the window is 5,000 to 7,000 instead of 1 to 5. 1 really doesn't go anywhere, not in terms of helping a business, or particularly for operating expenses. I mean, it's 1 month's rent, or maybe a month and a half's rent, but it's not for inventory. It won't cover personnel costs. Jessica, I don't know if y'all, but I really think the floor ought to be 5 instead of 1 in terms of really trying to help people.
Well, then you're going to really limit the number of people that you can include in the offer.
That's true.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
true.
It's not all about.
It's a competition. It's a competition.
Yeah, and it's not always about the total number that you help, but the quality of which they help. If you able to help 50 people over 100, but that one amount, you can show the big difference. It's only return on citizens helping, but it's return on that business as well. But I totally agree.
Well, I got to slap my hand. We're way off topic. This isn't even on what we're talking about is not on the agenda.
Well, yeah, it is. We're talking about forming a committee and what we would do about the.
Right, but we've gotten into the weeds of what the EDC wants to do, and that's not part of the advisory committee.
No, but we haven't really said what the advisory committee would. It says Small Business and Economic Recovery Advisory Committee, so we're not. Right. We haven't even defined.
And my question
what it is.
My question on that is: do we want co-chairs? Do we want 2 council members on the committee, and then turn that over to them to decide and work it for what's best for our city. As Mark said, we pick a couple, not a bunch of people from the chamber, maybe just one or two from the chamber, and then go ahead and scout our businesses to put together the membership to not exceed like 12. I mean, that means not a whole bunch of people from EDC either. You know, 2 from chamber, 2 from EDC, 2 from council, we're up to 6. So that doesn't
I
leave a
don't
whole
think
lot
that
of room.
the chamber is a separate corporation, and unless they want to put some money in, I think the EDC. I mean, because you're talking about the government bodies. That's
Now,
a corporation.
Just don't, wait a minute. The purpose of the advisory committee that is a resource place for local people to go to get some answers to questions. It doesn't have to do with anything with money or membership.
Right. That's
So
why I think that you should look instead to the community, to maybe some of the businesses in town to be on the committee, the entrepreneurs there.
exactly, and that's what I said. So we're looking at 2 co-chairs. We're looking at 2 from EDC, 2 from the chamber, and I'm not talking about the president and the vice president of the co-chair of the chamber. I'm talking about people that are in the chamber, and then 10 or 12 entrepreneurs from the city as part of the advisory.
10 or 12? I thought you wanted to limit it.
I do, but I'm looking at 6 to start out of the gate. You know, if we're looking at 6 out of the gate, you got to leave some room for some people in the city. Yeah, Mark.
Hey, so I don't want to get back on track, as you mentioned, Mayor, you talked about how many co-chairs, right? So here's just a thought, and I don't think we use all of them, but I'll just throw these out. So maybe we have one for small business, maybe we have one for education, maybe we have one for religious organization, maybe we have one seniors, or recapping the general concept of all. This is really communication with citizens. And so then we decided to, if council members want to get involved, maybe 2 council members assign themselves to small business. Another 2 council members says, I want to work with the educational piece. Now, again, remember, I'm not talking money. I'm just talking communication and conversation, where we position ourselves as one when we finish, right? So small business, education, religious organizations, seniors somehow, because our city has a very large number of senior citizens that we can talk to. Again, roundtable communication type deal, and then come up with something from there where we're sitting down talking to we're represented now most part of our city. So when you talk about 2, I was thinking spread those 2 out.
Well, you just mentioned 4, and we're only 7, and I'm not going to be one of them. I'll tell you that.
Well, I'm just
And you've kind of gotten off of the subject of small business and economic recovery.
But that when you're economic recovery, that's the whole. It should be maybe the city recovery, and not just small business recovery. Covers everything. Sorry.
But that's not what the title of this was.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, Monty, you had your hand up.
Yeah, just, right now, to me, the most important, there's only one thing that we need to be really, I mean, there's many things, but there's the most important thing that I can think of in this city right now is that our businesses survive before anything else, because if the businesses don't survive, there's not going to be any need for a church or schools or houses. I mean, we're in a wartime survival for our businesses right now. So a strategic business deal that with key entrepreneurs, that key people that can actually contribute something and help people. And and sometimes it's not all about giving them money, but it's just about giving them hope and just somebody to talk to, when you get, because I know of one suicide already. I know of several serious people, with falling off into the mental disorder and stuff. There's lots of depression, anxiety. I know a lot of things. It's not just money. I mean, every day it's I'm talking to them every single day. And so I think what you're saying is a good thing. I'll volunteer to do this with somebody. I'm already doing it anyway. Keep you all informed. I mean, I think it's a good thing. Get a couple people here and there, or get up to 12 people, and you could have. We could do some Zoom meetings. We could have some. There's lots of things that we can do right now. that we can lead these meetings and just talk about, just sharing things with each other. It would be a good platform. Kind of like a 12-step group or something. You kind of get together and you talk about these issues and help people.
So does anybody want to work with Monty on it? Mark? All right. How about, is one thing that I did discuss with Mayor Price, this is all informal. Now at their next city council meeting, they are going to formalize it, which is how they're going to do it. She wasn't sure, but go ahead and y'all kick it off. And, maybe we don't need 2 from EDC. Maybe we don't need 2 from Chamber. I think we need at least 1 from EDC and at least 1 from Chamber, and then compose the rest of local businesses that y'all want to
Are
put
we
in.
going to require them to be Duncanville people?
I think they ought to be Duncanville businesses.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, businesses that are within Duncanville city limits, absolutely.
All right. I just want to make sure because it seems like we always, get into that.
Yeah, no question. Have to be a business operating in the city of Duncanville. Absolutely. Okay. Okay. How about that? We just turn it over to Mark and Monty. Give us an update every now and then. Informal.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. According to, golly, where are we on time here? 7:39. 7:39. How many citizens have we got out there? Do we know?
I'm a citizen.
Non-elected, unelected people.
Mayor, we have 10.
Say again, please.
We have 10 attendees.
All right, how about, since we have 10 attendees, we put executive session at the end and move into city council meeting. Would that be all right with everybody? Okay. All right. So, yeah. Don?
Thank you, Mayor. I mean, one of the items on it is take any action necessary as a result of executive session. So that's item 5. So I just wanted to remind you of that.
Well, we always figure that out.
Thank you.
In one way or another. Yeah. Okay. All right. So with that, we will go then into our regular city council meeting and convene, calling to order our regular city council meeting, City of Duncanville, on the 21st of April. And the time
Mayor?
stamp, yes, ma'am.
You need to recess the meeting first.
Okay. Oh, recess. We're recessing the briefing session.
Yes.
Timestamp on that is 7:40. Okay, and then I'm calling to order the regular session of the City Council of the City of Duncanville on the 21st of April at 7:41 p.m. And Don, Mr. McBurnett, would you please give us an invocation?
Thank you, Mayor. Dear Heavenly Father, we want to thank you for this day. We want to thank you for this time together. We want you to open our hearts and minds so that we can work and do your works. Please, Lord, continue to lead us and help us and continue to be a beacon. And we ask this in your son's name, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. And we'll now do the pledges to the 2 flags. I know where my flag is hanging on my wall. Don, did you bring up there you go. Okay. Please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You got a Texas flag there, Don, somewhere? No? Okay. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to the Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Thank you very much. Please be seated. Okay, next item on the agenda is the mayor's report, and I'm limited to 2 minutes, I believe. First of all, I want to express deep thanks to all of our first responders and to our nurses and doctors and all the individuals in our city who are able to continue to work. And I also want to thank our citizens and our religious leaders for their compliance with a very, very tough situation over the Easter weekend. I know that I had some input from some pastors saying, you know, this is the most important day of the year for Christian believers, and it's very, very tough. And I know based on the guidance that was put out by the Attorney General in consonance with what Governor Abbott put out, that we did have some church services within our city that were drive-in. They complied with what the Attorney General recommended in terms of having every other parking space, and people could drive up. They had to keep their windows up, and the pastors had sound systems out, and they did their worship that way. So I really, really appreciate our religious community complying with a very, very tough situation. Also, I want to make a comment about the census, to please do everything possible to get our folks online and to get that filled out. The last data I had was a 52% response rate. I don't know if that's been updated or not. I haven't been able to find it, but we need to really make sure that this happens. Now, I do have some information here that was put out by the Federal Census Bureau. It says under the plan, they're going to extend data collection and self-response to October 31st of 2020. And I'll just read it. It says, which will allow for the apportionment accounts to be delivered to the president by April 30th of 2021, and redistricting data to be delivered to the states no later than the 31st of July, 2021. So not getting into the use of that data for redistricting, just every time you see a citizen, ask them if they've gone ahead and put it there and filled out their application online, so we can make sure that we get that done. I also want to thank our citizens and and Alex Hamby, right? Kevin, our new interim PIO.
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Yeah, getting the information out on the bulk service with the dumpster by Republic. We participated in that, and I was very glad to see our folks from the service center or public works out there. They had their masks on, and they were taking care of making sure people were doing it right. And looking at your report, Kevin, that you just put out, we had pretty good response. In fact, that dumpster that we went out there to put our stuff in was loaded. So that means, number one, our social media is working, and number two, that our citizens appreciate it. And so that's going to be every Saturday from 10 to 2. Is it 9 or 10? 9 to 2 or 9 to 2? 9 to 2. So let's keep up the real good work on doing that, getting that information out. Say again?
Is it every Saturday?
As far as I know, yes. Is there any change to that, Kevin?
No, sir, that's correct. Every Saturday for right now.
Yeah, so as long as they're not doing bulk pickup around the city, that dumpster is going to be available every Saturday. Okay, let's see. That's all I had for my mayor's report. Any council members' reports? Mark.
Again, to our citizens that's listening in, to all, thank you very much for staying home and staying safe. We know that's important to the overall upkeep of each one of our lives. So thank you very much. I also want to think about something. I was driving the neighborhood and noticed is that I looked at one of my neighbor's trash, and she had wrote a note on her bag of trash, and she said, "Thank you very much to the guys that's picking up the trash for all you do." And I thought that was very special of her to do that. So I took the lead and made sure the next week that I had 2 bottles of water out there with my mask on, and handed those guys 2 bottles of water. So not only to our first responders, but every portion that's going on in our city. And then, as you all know, that some of our restaurants are doing still well. I passed by Papa Do's and their line is just sticking out of the street with people still taking other go orders. And when I think about Papa's down the street, they're doing the same. And so thank our citizens for still shopping our city even during this crucial time. And then I'll end with what the mayor just talked about, is that if you know anyone that is not keeping up with what's going on in Duncanville, ask them to get, this is the time to get reacquainted with social media. And I'm sure some way or the other, if you call somewhere around, call your grandchildren, your grandchild, or someone, they will help you on social media and how to stay up what's happening in our city. So that's so very important for you to be informed during this time. And social media is going to be the way to do it versus waiting on our newsletter, a champion newsletter, which is also great. So thank you very much. And I also want to thank all my colleagues, Joe Veracruz, Patrick Harvey, Jeanette Jamison, Don, Mayor, city, all staff. Thank you for all that you do in making our city run as smooth as we can during this time. So thank each one of you as well.
Thank you. Any other, I saw another hand, I don't remember. Yeah, Joe. Go ahead, Joe.
Yes, sir. Just want to give a shout out to my church, Trinity Church Fairmeadows, who fed quite a few of our students Saturday from 10 to 12. And of course, they had Mr. Harvey and Mr. Mac Burnett come out and help out as well. But we're able to support our citizens and just wanted to just tell them thank you.
Yeah. Any other council member reports? Seeing none. Okay. Moving on to city manager's report. Mr. Augman?
Mayor and council, I do not have any report tonight.
Okay. And okay, moving on to citizens input. Citizens input under these conditions. Citizen comments were supposed to be submitted to the city secretary by 4 o'clock today. And we do have one. Let me pull that up. Okay, this is from, I hate to do this, Peg Schrum. And Peg Schrum is commenting this: we need to open all the businesses now. Require masks and gloves if you want to. People have the freedom to stay out of the businesses and stay home if they want to. We cannot afford any more economic damage. Be fair to the little businesses. We're all praying for you and your families. Warmly, Peg Schrum. So thank you to Peg Schrum for that. And Kristen, I believe that is the only citizen input that we have.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, moving on to, let's see. We need to take a vote on the consent agenda. City Secretary, if you please read the consent agenda items.
Item 4A, consider the minutes for the March 31st City Council special meeting and the April 7th City Council regular meeting. 4B, consider a resolution approving the second renewal of contract IFB number 18-052, street sweeping services from Sweeping Services of Texas Operating LP of Hurst, Texas, with an estimated expenditure amount of $86,000. 4C, consider a resolution authorizing Linebarger, Gogan, Blair, and Sampson LLP to obtain an order of sale which will allow for the foreclosure of and to authorize the sale of the properties by Dallas County at public sale in accordance with section 34.05 of the Texas Property Tax Code for the following properties: 439 Azalea Lane, 359 Blossom Drive, and 203 Cedar Street.
Thank you. The chair will entertain a motion to approve consent agenda items. Mr. Mac Burnett.
Move to approve.
Okay, and second.
Second, Mac Burnett.
Okay. So going back, so it was Councilmember Jamison for the motion to approve and Councilmember Mac Burnett for a second. And this will be a roll call vote. City Secretary.
Councilmember Veracruz, 4 are against.
4.
Mayor Pro Tem Mac Burnett, 4 are against.
4.
Councilmember Anderson, 4 are against.
4.
Councilmember Cooks, for or against?
For.
Councilmember Jameson, for or against?
For.
At-large Councilmember Harvey, for or against?
For.
Mayor Gordon, for or against?
4. Thank you. The motion is approved unanimously. Okay, we don't have any items for individual consideration, so at this time, we will recess our city council meeting pursuant to going into executive session.
Mayor Gordon,
Yes, ma'am.
you have the staff and board reports if y'all have any.
I'm sorry. Yes, we do. I'm sorry. Okay. Strike from the record what I just said. We're going into staff and board reports. First one is from Public Works Quarterly Report. Mr. Ramey, you out there?
Mayor and council, this is the city manager, Hugman. We provided the reports to you. Staff is available if you have any questions. We were not planning to go through the reports though.
Fine. Any questions? I'll just put it down. Okay, we've got 3 on it. We've got Public Works, Fire Department, and Police. Do any questions on any of those 3 from council members? I'm seeing negative, 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 negative. Seeing none, thank you very much. Is that copacetic with everybody? Yes, okay. All right, so now, City Secretary, we are ready to recess City Council.
Mayor Gordon, may I say something real quick?
Absolutely, help me out.
Okay, since we're going into executive session, I sent everybody a new link with the new executive session code. So go with the new one. I have it highlighted and it's labeled new executive session.
Okay, so everybody, hold on a second. First thing I need to do is recess.
Yes.
We're recessing the regular session of the City Council meeting. The timestamp is 7:54. All right, so now everybody log off. Oh, wait, I need to read the executive session, the item now, right? Or read it when we get, help me out here.
Yes, read it, sir.
Okay. City Council shall convene into closed executive session pursuant to section 551.072 of the Texas Government Code. Deliberations about real property to deliberate the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property, to wit, real properties generally located north of Wheatland Road, east of Cedar Ridge, and west of Cockrell Hill Road. Okay, so City Council members, please log off, go to your email and log back on to this special executive session link. Okay, we are reconvening City Council. The timestamp is 8:55. And we are on item
To take action on.
Yeah, there it is. Okay, we are on item 5A of the agenda, which is to take any necessary action as a result of the executive session. And so there is action to be taken. The chair will accept a motion.
Mayor, this is Councilmember Jameson. I'd like to make a motion to direct the staff to invoke Section 7B of the straw man's contract effective April 22nd to terminate the contract.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Okay.
Okay, Mr. Cooks has seconded the motion. Seeing as how, any discussion?
That was Mr. Bear Cruz. Correction,
Oh,
Bear Cruz.
I'm sorry, I saw your hand go up, Mark. Okay, all right, second was by Councilmember Bear Cruz. And so please, we need a We need a roll call vote. City Secretary?
Yes, Councilmember Vera Cruz, 4 are against.
4,
Mayor Pro Tem Mac Burnett, 4 are against.
4,
Councilmember Anderson, 4 are against.
4,
Councilmember Cooks, 4 are against.
4,
Councilmember Jameson, 4 are against.
4.
At large, Councilmember Patrick Harvey, 4 are against.
4.
Mayor Gordon, 4 are against.
4. Thank you, council. It's unanimous vote in favor of that particular action. And that takes us to the end of our agenda. Seeing as no further action, our council meeting is adjourned. Timestamp is 8:57. Thank you and good evening.